Where am I?
In the village.
Is there a cinema in the village?
No, about a mile away.
Oh, at Port Maddock?
You're in a hotel there.
Yeah, I know. I'm booked into room number 6. So here I am in Port Maddock, which of course is in North Wales, and this is the Coliseum, and I'm meeting somebody inside. Presumably it must be Pat, is it? It's
I think so.
John Walters from Cinema Nation. Before we start, not when did the cinema reopen, but what year did it actually open?
It was 1932.
Does anybody remember what was on the screen?
I believe it was Greta Garbo.
So at least it was talkies.
Yes.
This died only about 15 years ago,
Yes,
didn't
I know.
it? 83, was it?
83, something like that. Yes, I think it was.
So you were around and on the committee when the cinema was revived, brought back to life.
Yes, yes.
Why did you think Port Maddock needed a cinema?
It was part of the community. Most people, when you talked about the cinema and letters we got in from people with postal orders and cheques in, said, I did my courting in the back row of that cinema. We got letters from New Zealand, Australia, Canada, people donating, saying, we must keep the cinema in Port Maddock. It meant so much to those people from their childhood. And this is what it was all about. And it was only because the chairman of the Chamber of Trade then, John Glyn Jones, he had looked into it to buy it as a going concern. So he looked through the books and he felt that it was a going concern and it should be kept going. And it was from that meeting, within 3 days, we had formed a subcommittee, and within 3 days we were out on the street selling shares, which apparently is illegal. We'd had signs on the pavement, you know, buy your shares in the cinema here and things like that. And the papers gave us a lot of publicity.
So did you have what, like a booth on the street, you know, same as you would do to sell lottery tickets?
We did it one time, yes, up at the High Street one weekend.
Yes, so I see. So this cinema, it's not really owned by anybody, but it's supported by shareholders.
It is, really, even if they've only got £1. Most people just wanted to give a donation to keep the cinema going. And unfortunately, they've only ever had one payout, and that was some years back, and that was a free seat for every shareholder. Only one. It didn't matter if they had 1,000, they still only got one free seat.
So it's not like you floated it for shares in the city or something like that?
Not quite. It's not quite, no. It's not sort of a stock exchange.
So it's really a good-hearted community.
It is. It is.
Nigel, what is your role here first? I mean, are you the manager of the Coliseum?
I'm the chairman of the board of directors, which manages the Coliseum.
Exactly how long has this cinema been in existence? I mean, when was it built and who built it?
Well, it was built by a local entrepreneur, Captain Pritchard, back in 1931.
So it was a business, obviously, when it started?
Oh, yes. It was purpose-built as a cinema, yes.
Now, Nigel, it's very pleasant to hear, but of course you're right on the edge of, like, northwest Wales, you know, right on the edge of the sea and Wales, and you've got Snowdonia behind you, cutting yourself off from the rest of Britain. Sure, they can send the films in quite easily and you can show them, but have you ever had any real, film personalities, any stars here?
Oh, yes. When the Prisoner series was filmed in Portmeirion, they ran through the rushes of the films that were done. They actually used the projectors here to do that.
So they used the Coliseum to see what they'd made round the corner then?
Yes, and the stars, Patrick McGowan and the rest of the cast used to come here to watch the rushes.
But, Nigel, I gather you've had a more recent, almost higher-level star-studded movie that was made in the area that was shown here.
That's right, yes. We had the European premiere of the First Night film.
Well, who was in that then? Big names, I believe.
Richard Gere, Sean Connery and Julie Ormond.
Did they actually come to the
Julie
Coliseum?
Ormond actually turned up, yes.
Did she? So you actually had Julia Ormond possibly sitting in this seat, in this cinema. What did they make of that in Port Maddock?
drew large crowds outside, and all the press and the media turned up for it.
I'm wondering, though, Nigel, what your clientele is here. I mean, is it locals? Do they come to the cinema a lot? Or do you really have to rely on the tourist trade that passes through in the summer?
We have regular locals, obviously, but we do depend a great deal on the tourists coming here in numbers during the summer season to keep us going through the winter.
So how long, Graham, have you been a projectionist at the Coliseum? Is this where you started?
This is where I started 6.5 years ago, with no previous experience at all.
I'd like to have been there that first night. I mean, what was it? Just sort of press a few buttons and over the best?
It was frightening. It was frightening. In actual fact, the first night wasn't too bad. The second night was the worst night, because that was my first night on my own, with a brand new film that I hadn't realised didn't come on spools.
What did it come on then?
It came loose in a nice coloured plastic box, all loose. So I had to try and put it together. Needless to say, I ended up with 2,000 or 3,000 feet of film on the floor, down the stairs, everywhere. It was horrible.
So how close were you to
We
film
actually got
away?
the film going about 45 minutes after the supposed to be the start. Unfortunately, it was upside down. So we had to cancel that evening.
Now, I couldn't help noticing, just coming up the stairs or looking around the projection box, it's your handwriting, I'm told, and there are quotes from films. They're not always the great classic quotes. And you've got, well, photos out of magazines and so on, all stuck all down the stairs there. I mean, all photos of film stars. I mean, how are they selected? Are they your sort of pantheon of your favourite stars or what?
If the picture looks good, or if it's somebody I like, I'll stick it up. This is. I'm allowed to do up here what I'm not allowed to do at home. I stick the pictures up on the wall and nobody can tell me off.
But do you think that the Coliseum has a really important role to play in the life of Portmaddock?
The cinema is quite important. It's been here for 60, 70 years, 60 odd years now. And I think people probably take it for granted a little bit, but it is important. I think people would miss it terribly if it wasn't here.
Oh, 4 adults and a dog.
You're on.
Upstairs. Yeah, anywhere will do me. Oh, thank you very much.
Excuse me, could I just have a quick word upstairs?
Certainly,
before
yes,
you go
yes.
in? And you as well, the four of you. Thank you, if you follow me.
All right.
I'm sorry for stopping you going in the cinema, but I can't help noticing that you're, well, I mean, you've got a sword for a start. I mean, you're dressed as a medieval knight. I don't know what they're showing tonight, but do you always come dressed as the movie, like? Is it Robin Hood or something like that?
No, it's that we're Harlech Medieval Society, and that we usually try to see ourselves on the big screen, of course.
So you're not only an occasional person in the audience, you actually dress like this, and you've seen yourself.
Oh, in many films, yes.
What?
We were in First Night, which was premiered here, of course.
Yes.
With John Box and
Filmed
a few
around
others.
here, of
Oh,
course,
yes,
yeah.
filmed around here. Yeah. Merlin with John Gielgud and a few others.
When you're on the screen there, what are you, like third peasant from the left?
Any peasant that they'll have, sir. Any peasant that they'll have. I've been an archer. I've been all sorts of things. I've been a soldier. I've been a boatman. I've been a tree warrior, in fact, in Prince Valiant.
The gentleman there with the ice bucket there, I mean, what half the time you wouldn't be recognised if you've been in films. And
only like the third peasant in the background faded off nicely. So
if you're in it and you come into the Portmaddock Coliseum, do you sit in the sun and think, wait for it? That's me. Just
I used
missed
to end
it.
up on the floor actually in the cutting room, so it's not really a problem.
Right, folks. Well, I won't keep you too long because you better go in
We missed
and
the
see
film.
film. Yes, better get in there, get an ice cream
We
and
had,
get in.
hadn't we? Yes.
That must be difficult to get off that. A bit messy, I would
well, it's the chainmail rusts.
So that's the Coliseum Portmaddock, which incidentally had the first showing of the very first episode of The Prisoner. What did he used to say? I am not a number. I am a free man. I'm not exactly a free man, but I think you'd find me very reasonable. Be seeing you.